Hey everyone, Mark Meckler here with your Sunday Night BattleCry, and man, what a week! What a week! I'm not even sure I have words to explain how incredible this week was. I've been doing politics in the United States for 15 years, roughly now. I've never felt like this. I've seen a lot of great stuff. We've had a lot of great victories over the years, and we had the Tea Party election of 2010, the largest swing in history since 1938 in Congress, but it was not like this week. And yeah, the election victory was great. It was so exciting to see Trump win and feel like the country was taking a turn, a pivot in the right direction. But this week, the inauguration, you have a favorite part of the inauguration? I loved all of it. I loved Trump's inauguration speech so much. We're going to cover a whole bunch of that stuff. First thing I want to tell you, though, is what you should be doing this week. What is it that you should be engaged in? Because remember, we're about activism. We're not just about talk. It's not enough to come here and listen to me. You need to do something. If we're going to save the country, and I'm very hopeful we're going to save the country, you have a role to play. So this week, your role is kind of unique, not something I normally tell you. What I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to all the executive orders, to all the stuff that's going on in DC right now, which is funny because I usually tell you don't pay that much attention to DC. And I want to make sure that you pick up the phone and you call your congressman and you call your senator. And I'm not going to tell you what to tell them. I trust you. What I want you to do is tell them you support X, whatever your favorite thing is that you see going on at the level of the federal government, where you want your congressman to weigh in, you want your senator to weigh in. Just leave those messages with your senators. If there's stuff that you want to see Congress do, then leave that message with your representative. What I'm trying to do is have you exercise your civic muscle at the federal level. Now, Convention of States, normally we're working at the local level or the state level. So this is new for us. So we got to exercise those muscles from time to time because you're responsible for the federal government as well. We get a lot done at the level of the federal government right now. We should take advantage of that. When you have momentum, when you feel victory, it's not the time to sit back. That's the time to double down. So this week, your battle cry, your call to action is make the call to your senator, to your representative to support the things that you see going on in Washington, D.C. that you think are great. And also, of course, if there are things that are going on you don't like, feel free to express those. I always make sure that we do it politely. We do it with love. And we do it from a Christian perspective. That's how we talk to people all the time, no matter who we're talking to, even if you're talking to politicians you hate. Yeah, I'm talking to you in California. Sorry, I know. I used to be from there. It's hard to find good politicians, though. If you live in the Central Valley, maybe up in the foothills, maybe in the north of the state, in the rural areas, you got plenty of good politicians there too. Treat them all with respect and love. Treat them the way you would want to be treated, whether you're giving them kudos, whether you're complaining, whether you're asking them to do something, always with respect and love, but make sure that you are involved. Okay, so you watched the inauguration. You had to watch the inauguration. I know who you are. You watched the inauguration like I did. I watched it with the Daily Wire commentary. It wasn't even so interesting in the Daily Wire commentary. The inauguration was amazing. Like normally they're boring. Normally, to be frank with you, I don't even watch the inauguration. I don't like inaugurations because they're filled with pomp and circumstance, and it feels too much to me like the coronation of a king. We're not a monarchy. We fought against a monarchy. So normally I don't like stuff like that. I don't like the State of the Union address. I don't like all the pomp and circumstance. But man, I just had to watch Donald Trump raise the right hand and take the oath. I just had to watch Joe Biden sit there and watch it, and I enjoyed every minute of it. There was nothing I didn't like about it. You had to love it when Carrie Underwood's standing there waiting for the music to go on. And here's a true artist, a real artist, a talented woman, a lover of America. And she does America the Beautiful a cappella. Wasn't that incredible? Like, she said, I don't need the music. You know the words. Sing along with me. Let's just do it. And she did it. By the way, the guy who didn't get the music to go on, yee. Can you imagine how much trouble he's in? Imagine how he feels. Like his big moment in the sun, he's organizing the music for the inauguration and he crashes and burns on Carrie Underwood. That's ugly, but she handled it with grace and beauty and talent and skill. I thought that was an incredible moment. I thought the prayers were fantastic. All of them. Specifically, I love the pastor from Detroit and I love Franklin Graham. Those were the two of my favorites. One of the things I actually appreciated that was left out was they didn't include an Islamic prayer, a Muslim prayer. And I like that that was left out. And that's not to say I don't think people shouldn't be able to freely practice Islam in the United States of America if they're peaceful, if they're nonviolent, if they're not for overthrowing the government in the form of a theocracy, then I'm fine with that. But that's not our system, right? This is a country that is based on Judeo-Christian values. So I thought that was great. And that sent a subtle message. And I don't think it was an angry message or an exclusive message or a negative message. It's just, hey, we're a country based on Judeo-Christian values. Whatever your religion is, if you don't believe in this value set, then you have a problem here in the United States. You probably don't belong here if you don't believe in Judeo-Christian values. That's what we say in our organization. We welcome everybody, but Judeo-Christian values is what we base our political and philosophical foundation on. So I love the fact that there were Christian pastors, that there was a rabbi. Man, it was beautiful. I love that. And then to see J.D. Vance get sworn in, like the epitome of normal. How did they try to cast this guy of all people as weird? J.D. Vance, like just the most normal dude. His kids are up there. We were laughing as kids because they were just kids, right? They don't get it. It's an inauguration and they acted like kids. And I absolutely loved that. And I thought his wife, stunning. The style was fantastic. Usha, she's a beautiful woman. I thought she looked fantastic. Totally classy. Absolutely love that. Gosh, Melania Trump, that outfit, chef's kiss. I thought it was perfect. It was beautiful. You hear the left, oh, it was severe and it was whatever. Like she looked like a fashion model. We actually have a first lady that is a beautiful fashion model. Hopefully she'll get the cover of some of these fashion magazines now. I think that's calming down. I think that's going to happen. So I thought she looked beautiful. Trump got up there, took his oath of office. A little weird. I don't know if you noticed, he didn't get his hand on a Bible. He was supposed to use a special Bible. That didn't end up happening. Justice Roberts kind of rushed things. He did this last time Trump was inaugurated. I don't think it was intentional. I don't know if it's nervousness or what, but they kind of skipped the hand on the Bible thing. But he took the oath of office and then he gave his inaugural address. And I thought I loved his first inaugural address, but this one was way better. I mean, he went at it and he no holds barred. And it wasn't inflammatory. It wasn't high flying rhetoric. My opinion is President Trump isn't the greatest public speaker. I mean, he's kind of flat in his delivery, in my opinion, but the substance, God bless the substance. So much great stuff. I can't cover it all here. We could do an entire show on his inaugural speech, but let me just point out a few things that he talked about. How about manifest destiny? When was the last time you heard a president, a United States president, talk about manifest destiny? Yeah, maybe you go back to Polk, right? You remember James Polk? I don't, because none of us were alive, right? But he talked about manifest destiny. Presidents don't talk about it. It's considered politically incorrect. But I got to say, look, if you are the greatest nation ever in the history of the earth, and I believe that's what the United States is, if you believe, as I do, that we've spread more liberty, more prosperity, more health, lifted more people out of poverty than any nation in the history of the earth, then I don't think there's anything wrong with claiming manifest destiny, that our job is to do the best we can, as long as it's in the interest of America first, to spread that around the world. Trump talked about a healthy country expands its territory, and he's talking about Greenland. And I predict in the next 4 years, in one form or another, Greenland becomes part of the United States. Unlikely it's a state, probably likely to be a protectorate. It's not doing Denmark any good. Denmark doesn't have a budget surplus. They don't have the kind of resources to invest in Greenland that we would have. It would help the people of Greenland. People of Greenland are in favor of becoming independent and having some sort of official affiliation with the United States. So I'd be willing to put money on it. Greenland, in some form or another, has some very tight relationship with the United States in the next 4 years for national security reasons, for natural resources reasons, for economic interests of Greenland, all of these things. It's a great idea. And he talked about that. He talked about the Panama Canal. And he's serious about, look, we're not going to be ripped off on the Panama Canal anymore. We built it with our blood and our treasure, 38,000 lives lost building the Panama Canal, billions of dollars spent, one of the greatest engineering feats in human history. We did that. The United States did that. Our great, exceptional nation did that. And Trump is talking about, we're not going to be ripped off anymore. They're ripping off our ships, including our Navy. We're not going to allow that. They turned over operation of the canal, the Panamanians did, to the Chinese government. We're not going to allow that anymore. In one way or another, we're going to wrest control of that back from Panama and take control. Whether we take it back physically and we own it, that's one option. Whether we take over the contracts to run the canal end to end, that's another option. Whether we put American companies in place to run it, that's another option. There's all kinds of ways we can do it, but Trump said point blank, we're not going to be taken advantage of anymore. What Trump presented was a muscular view of America in the world. We're going to go to Mars. Like, that's what he said. We're going to plant the American flag on Mars. How incredible would that be? Like, I can remember when the astronauts planted the flag on the moon, we never went back, which is horrible and unbelievable. And Musk has been pointing to Mars, and Trump says we're going to Mars. I think that's an unbelievable, amazing thing. So that's just a few little things in the inaugural address. I loved it. Now, he said one thing that I hated and loved in the inaugural address. He said that from now on in the United States of America, the official government policy is going to be that there are only two genders, men and women. Now, of course, I love that. Why? Because God created them, man and woman. That's Genesis, right? This is biblical. This is all there is. There's only two genders. It's a biological fact, it's a genetic fact, and it's a biblical fact. And so I love that President Trump said that he's bold enough to just say it. This is how it is. This is how it's going to be in America. I hate the fact that he had to say it. I hate the fact that we live in a world where that's even a question, where we even discuss, where anybody's even willing in polite society to say men can be women, women can be men. There are 57 genders and all this. That's insane. But I love the fact that President Trump is taking a strong stand against that. And he's continuing down this path post-inaugural address. He went over, signed a bunch of executive orders. We'll get into all that stuff. But what an inaugural address. I loved it. I think it was 26 minutes. That's incredibly short for Donald Trump. It's a little bit long, by the way, for inaugural addresses. Average is 19 minutes. But it was 26 jam-packed minutes on script, on point, painting a muscular, forward-looking golden age of America. I don't know about you, but I'm all in on that. I'm going to do everything I can to help that happen in the United States of America. I know you guys. I know you're all in on it too. So I love that. So Trump then goes over and starts signing executive orders. He hits the ground running in a way that's not even remotely comparable to what happened after the last election. So how did that happen? How is it that this Trump is so much different than the last Trump? How is it that, well, his ideas are very similar, his execution is completely different? Well, because Trump is an extraordinary learner. And he learned last time. He was not prepared to take office last time. And he got his butt handed to him because of it. The left, they had a plan for stifling Donald Trump. Donald Trump did not have a plan for stifling the left. And he wasn't going to make that same mistake again. And by the way, I don't think this is a mistake. I don't think this is a coincidence. I think this is God ordained. Trump had 4 years in the wilderness, literally out of office, unable to do things that he would have wanted to do in the White House, fighting back against evil forces, being persecuted, being prosecuted, being slandered, being subject to lawfare. They're trying to imprison him. 4 years of challenges in the wilderness, during which time he is plotting his comeback. And he's surrounded by people in the wilderness who support his comeback, who have the knowledge, who now know exactly what the left is going to do to try to stop him, who know what all the weaknesses are of the left, and who actually plan it out what Trump is going to do as he takes office. And this is why there's been a solid year of work in planning this and getting ready for this first round of executive orders. And they were great. So let's go through some of them. There are so many good executive orders. I just can't keep track of all of them. I've heard there are over 200 of them. Each one, by the way, backed by regulations and details of how they're to be executed. I saw an email that went out to the staff of the Environmental Protection Agency saying that all DEI is done. And not only that they're getting word that people are changing the titles of DEI employees to try and pretend they're not there anymore and still do DEI. And they let everybody know that they need to report those things, that there's no DEI in contracts, there's no affirmative action in hiring and any of that stuff. And if anybody's hiding it, it needs to be reported. And if you fail to report, there will be consequences. I mean, this administration is serious about what they're doing. And every day I wake up with a smile on my face, happy to go to my monitors in front of my computer and look, and what's the new thing that I'm going to love? It has been fantastic. And I've been watching the legacy media. Are you watching the legacy media as they try to take all this in? I think Trump has done something brilliant here. His strategy is shock and awe. In other words, go hard as fast as you possibly can. And when you do that, you overwhelm your enemy. They don't know how to respond. They can't do anything. And so they struggle to even respond. They can respond to 1, 2, 3, 4. They can't respond to 200 plus things that happen. So this is absolutely incredible. Great approach by Trump. Legacy media struggling to deal with it. I love every bit of it. So if you are watching left-wing media and you feel like you smell a corpse, I think that's because it is a corpse. I think it's dead. Again, I don't know what replaces it. I think stuff like this, podcasts, Daily Wire, you name it. I think there's going to be a replacement that's going to come up. Americans are going to continue to consume media, but I think they want the truth. I think they want reasonable stuff. And I think that they're going to get that. Whether it comes from CNN or MSNBC, whether those folks can remake themselves, I seriously doubt that. But the bottom line is we're going to see the media landscape reshape itself in 2025. Now we have, as representative of this, the first media hoax of 2025. And that media hoax is the Elon Musk Nazi salute. I'm sure you've all heard this. Elon Musk, during the inaugural celebrations, did something where he was very excited. He touched his heart and he went like this, reached out to the audience, like, from my heart to you. It was beautiful. He was excited. Clearly, unequivocally not a Nazi salute, right? But the left beclowns themselves. This becomes the talking point. Elon Musk is now a Nazi and made a Nazi salute. This shows you how stupid the legacy media is. Like, there's the old adage, when you're in a hole, stop digging. They don't know how to stop digging. So that's the first hoax of 2025. There's going to be many more. Be ready for them. Call them out. Maybe we should have a bingo card. I think it's funny. We're going to have to laugh about it all the way through 2025 because the left is squirming and they don't know what to do. And I'm sorry, maybe it's not nice, but I enjoy that. All right. This is Elon Musk and they're attacking Elon Musk. And this ties into something else I want to talk about, which is Elon Musk good for America? I think he is, yes. Obviously, why is Elon Musk and why are the tech, what I would call now the tech right? Why are they good for America? Because they want to remake America in its own image, in the image of greatness that it was born in the idea of reaching across a continent, in the idea of reaching across an ocean, in the idea of now reaching out across the planets. This is what the tech right believes, that we are a great country, that we are a unique and exceptional country, that we have access to unique and exceptional resources, and that we should lead the world. And Elon Musk is emblematic of that. I mean, here's a guy that came to this country with literally nothing and built many successful companies and is the richest man on the planet and is a proud American, stands with our president. And he's going to bring that skill set, that idea of efficiency and moving forward and having a vision. He's bringing that skill set to government. And then it's not just Elon, it's Vivek Ramaswamy and a lot of others that these guys are bringing along with them. And to me, it gives me a lot of hope for the future of America to see these guys seated on stage behind the president, looking forward boldly towards the future of America, not apologizing for our past, not humiliating ourselves before the world, not putting everybody else first, but putting America first and wanting to go forth into the world to do great things again, to aspire to greatness. So I'm super excited about Elon Musk being involved in the government and all these other tech bros, as they call them. I think it's going to be really great for America. And I think we're going to see some incredibly exciting things. Now, there are things that we can actually point to that point out why this is such a good thing. The government tries to do things and they spend billions of dollars and waste billions and billions of dollars. I think it cost Elon Musk roughly $10 billion to put over 300 satellites in orbit. I think in California, they spent like $121 billion to build like 6 miles of high-speed rail or something like that. I mean, the numbers are astounding. The amount of money that has been wasted by folks on the left and it's not just the left, by folks in government is astounding. And it goes on and on and on. And meanwhile, you've got guys like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and Peter Thiel and all these companies that spend much smaller amounts of money, massive amounts, but much smaller amounts of money, and do much more with much less. And we need more of that in government. I think this is really important. And I think that's what these guys are going to bring to government. They're going to bring efficiency. They're going to bring new ideas. They're going to bring a positive outlook. I absolutely love this stuff. And I hope you will too. I think, again, great times are coming to America, not just because of Trump, but because of you, because of Musk, and all the others that are going to be involved. What a week it's been for Convention of States. Utterly incredible, the stuff going on out there in the States. Kudos to the grassroots. Got some notes here because so much going on. I want to give you the numbers, and I need the numbers to actually remember this stuff. So we started the week with a South Dakota Senate victory. That victory was 23-9, so an overwhelming victory in the South Dakota Senate. Now on to the House. I'm hoping next week we get through the House. If we do, and I think it looks pretty good, if we get through the House in South Dakota, that would make South Dakota State number 20, and the first victory up on the board in 2025. Exciting stuff. Then we moved on to Wyoming. We had a hearing in Wyoming, and that hearing victory was 5-0 in the committee hearing. And a lot of times that gives you an idea of what's going to happen on the floor. We did indeed move on to the floor in Wyoming. First read, that bill has to be read 3 times and voted on 3 times. Some legislatures do this. That's done in the Wyoming Senate. First read, Wyoming Senate, 19-8. Another overwhelming, amazing victory. You guys should be super proud of yourselves, super proud of the grassroots out there. And then we had a Montana victory. In Montana, we had a hearing. It was a fantastic hearing. We didn't get a vote. In some states, they don't go to vote out in public. They go in executive session. It's called sort of behind the scenes. What was incredible was to watch the Montana grassroots testify. That was as good as any grassroots testimony I've ever seen. Very organized, very thorough, very professional as any professional lobbyist I've ever seen. That's really saying something. I've been all over the country. I've been doing this for 11 years. Kudos to the Montana team for their preparation. I know they got together the night before. A bunch of them rehearsed. It showed. They were pros. It was great. I think we're going to have a victory in that committee. And then obviously that will be onto the floor. Also in this week's victories for us, 2 supporters of a Convention of States. Pete Hegseth confirmed as Secretary of Defense. Go Pete, one of our biggest supporters. We love you, Pete. We're excited watching you get sworn in, calling you Mr. Secretary from now on. I can't wait to talk to you once you're sworn in and you sort of get settled in, get your feet underneath you over there at Department of Defense. And then, of course, Marco Rubio, one of the earliest supporters of Convention of States, sworn in as Secretary of State and already off on his first trip to South America, Central America, hitting Panama. I'm sure he's going to have some conversations about the Panama Canal. All in all, an amazing week for Convention of States out there in the news across the country for our supporters. And I guarantee there's going to be a bunch more victories coming up next week. Let's go to our Q&A, but before we go to Q&A, I want to remind you, hit the like button, subscribe, share this with a friend. That's how we get the word out. That's how we grow Convention of States. Again, hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, get the notices that we've got new content, share this stuff with a friend, because we are working to save the country and we can't do it without your help. Also, we want to make sure that President Trump notices Convention of States. So we have an open letter to President Trump. Go to conventionofstates.com/Trump and you could sign that open letter. Again, share that with everybody you know so we get as many signatures as we possibly can on that. When we get 1 million signatures on that, I promise you I'll get it in front of President Trump. I'm waiting. We keep collecting signatures by the tens of thousands, but we got to get to 1 million. When we get to 1 million, I will get that on Trump's desk. I can promise you that. All right. You get to ask me anything you want. And so this is the Ask Mark Anything section. You can put questions in at conventionofstates.com/Ask Mark. You don't have to put in the anything, just conventionofstates.com/Ask Mark. Marco asks, why don't you repeal the 16th Amendment? And the answer is, because I'm not Joe Biden. You know, you saw Joe Biden today said that the 28th Amendment had become part of the Constitution. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. You can't declare an amendment. So I don't have the power to repeal the 16th Amendment, but I would love to see the federal government repeal the 16th Amendment. For those of you who don't know, the 16th Amendment is the income tax. It should be repealed. We never were meant to have a direct financial relationship with the federal government. That was supposed to come through the states. That's what we could do with the repeal of the 16th Amendment. So, Marco, I'm in favor. Ron Asher asks, if a convention is held, How do you prevent the far left from taking over and eliminating several current amendments? Well, Ron, remember, it takes 34 states to call a convention. Those states have to agree in advance. That's a super majority of the states have to agree in advance what they can talk about. So there are limitations. So the stuff that you wouldn't want to happen can't even be talked about, and a super majority of states have agreed in advance. If somebody were to bring one of those things up, say California says something like, oh, we should repeal the Second Amendment. Remember, there are a super majority of states in advance that don't want to do that. They will be gavelled out and down. So that stuff can't be introduced. So you don't have to worry about what you're talking about as something like a quote unquote runaway convention. Cannot happen. Even if it did, by the way, and this is an important backdrop, Ross, is even if something like that did happen, and it can't happen, I'm not saying it can't happen, it can't happen, still takes 38 states to ratify. And nobody's ever been able to tell me of an amendment that they're afraid of as a conservative that 38 states would ratify, because they can't. So now is our time. It's time to call a convention of states. It's time to back up what the Republicans, I believe, are going to do in Congress, what President Trump is going to do by executive order. We're going to make it happen by backing up all that stuff with a convention of states. We can permanently do away with the Department of Education, the EPA, the Department of Energy. We can impose term limits. We can impose a balanced budget amendment. We're going to do all that stuff with your help by calling a convention of states. So go to conventionofstates.com, sign up today, click the Take Action tab, get involved. We need you, and we'll see you next week on the BattleCry.